Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Canadians Abroad. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming, and I will be joined as always by my colleague Alex Gangue-Ruzic, and today we will be discussing transfers because it's that time of year. We have Ashley Lawrence and Chloe Lacasse heading to England, Ika Ubo and Theo Correa finding new clubs, and we will give you the latest update on Jonathan David. So hopefully you guys are excited for this episode, and if you are, let's get into it now. All right, Alex, to start off today's episode, I think we're going to see a trend coming up, and that is transfers, because it's transfer season and we have a few to talk about, starting off with Ashley Lawrence, who joined Chelsea on a 3-year deal to join up with Jessie Fleming and Khadijah Buchanan. Very excited to see 3 Canadians on one club. What do you make of the transfer?
Yeah, it's exciting for Ashley Lawrence, who's been at PSG for so long. It was something that caught me by surprise when looking up. You're like, oh my goodness, she's finished her 7th season with the club. She really developed into a top world-class fullback, but now she got a chance to be a free agent. And following in the footsteps of Khadijah Buchanan, who made a similar decision last year, she's taken her talents to Chelsea, and it'll be exciting to see because this Chelsea team wants to win it all next year. They came very close to a domestic trouble. They won the league. They won the FA Cup. They lost in the League Cup final. So that's a trouble they want to complete. It's one they've done before. And then from there, continentally, they finished in the semifinals of the Champions League. They want to win it all for the first time. And I think now with the squad they're building, Lawrence is a huge addition, a world-class, top-class fullback. And hopefully after a strong World Cup, she can go there and link up with the Canadians and help them in that quest. So it's such an exciting transfer on all those fronts.
It's cool because Buchanan and Lawrence are obviously teammates for the Canadian women, but they were rivals with PSG and Lyon. Now they're teaming up. It's going to be nice, but where do you think she's going to fit in this Chelsea squad? We've seen her be able to play as a left back or right back. She's even got advanced roles playing as a winger from time to time, but where do you want to see her play in Chelsea, and where do you think she may play?
I think she'll probably slot in at right back, fullback. Emma Hayes does typically play a 4-2-3-1, so I think Lawrence could be a good addition out wide just because she can get forward and help be involved in the attack, especially in games where Chelsea's going to hold a lot more of the ball as they do in a lot of their league games, especially. But also, she's no slouch defensively. You see it in the Champions League all the time. She gets tasked 1v1 with some of the best players in the world, and she holds her own. So I think in that fullback position, they'll probably get the most out of her. And then from there, I mean, Hayes, what's nice is she'll have the luxury of flexibility. Last year, she struggled to fill her midfield. That's why kind of we saw Jessie Fleming play 10, but also 8 and kind of all over. Lawrence can also step into that 8 and maybe free some of those attacking options that Chelsea has to stay higher up the pitch. And of course, you can also put her out wide. So really, I'd say the main one is fullback, but Hayes will have that flexibility to move Lawrence into midfield and up further up the pitch if need be.
Now, what about the move itself? Now, there's no lie. You can't get around the fact that Lyon, PSG, huge clubs, but the league in England is, like, you could argue is the best in the world. Do you like the fact that Canadians are starting to go over there? Buchanan did it. Now Lawrence did it. And do you think that Lawrence is going to maybe be able to slot in a little bit better to this Chelsea side than Buchanan? Because Buchanan probably didn't have the perfect season, but I think going into the second season, she can hopefully build on that. And then having someone she's familiar with playing alongside her may help both of them thrive.
Yeah, I think it's a good move because that league is growing a lot. I think you've seen it, for example, in France. France has kind of been seen as the top league for so long, but it's just Lyon, PSG duking it out year over year, and it kind of is a 2-horse race in every competition, the cup and league. And a lot of the other league games maybe don't mean as much and are a lot less competitive. Whereas in England, you're kind of seeing this, for example, this last year, the title race was fascinating. 3 teams were in it till the last day, and Chelsea, they kind of pulled into it late and ended up, of course, winning. They've won 4 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, because they've been dominant. But despite that, Arsenal was in it. Man City, Man United. Man United led the league for a lot of the year and kind of let it slip away. I think just that competitiveness at the top end, especially Arsenal, made some very big moves, as we'll get to one of them shortly for a Canadian over this offseason. It's going to be very competitive at the top. And then just overall, you see the balance of the league. Yeah, at the bottom end, there have been some blowouts, but the mid-table strength of the league has been very clear to see, and it's only growing.
Yeah, you took my point, but yeah, going on with more Canadians heading over to England. Chloe Lacasse leaves Benfica, but there was not the only Canadian on the move, because one Canadian left Benfica to go to Arsenal and another joined. Tell me about the 2 transfers.
Yeah, it's a bit of a domino effect, and it happened all so quickly. I mean, the Lacasse rumors, they'd been there since January. Obviously, Arsenal was very interested in the player. Benfica want to keep her, at least through the end of the year. They almost won the domestic treble, so it nearly paid off. Lacasse ends up winning the Portuguese League MVP, and now she gets a chance to go again to a top club in a top league. Arsenal as well going to have similar ambitions. They won just the one trophy last year. They felt that they maybe missed an opportunity in the league, that they can do better in the FA Cup, which they were also knocked out by Chelsea. It was a very close race between those two clubs throughout the year, and Arsenal's just made some other big signings. So it'll be a good move for the class to head to a top club in a top league and showcase what she can do, because she's 29. She's had a chance to thrive in Portugal and really become a dominant scorer, but now it's going to be a whole other thing to do it consistently week in, week out when you're playing top sides like you do in England. And then as for Benfica, they still have a big year ahead as well, right? They're the top team in Portugal. They came so close to a domestic treble, which has still eluded them despite being so dominant. They want to defend their league title. They're in Champions League again, so they needed some reinforcements, and that they signed Marie-Yasmine, which is a very fascinating transfer and fascinating story, really. She was playing U Sports, makes a move. She's played in Sweden, she's played in France, all over, and ends up going to Austria, then makes this move to Portugal with Famalicão, ends up thriving right away, helps them win their first ever trophy as a club. This year they beat Benfica in the semifinals. They win the Taça de Portugal. All of a sudden that gets interest on her. She scored a bunch of goals, had a couple of assists. Benfica wants a replacement, not like for Lacasse, because Aladou's more of an attacking midfielder. Lacasse is a forward, and now Aladou all of a sudden is at a huge club in Benfica. So great moves for both of them.
No, it was an incredible story, but I want to focus in a little bit on Chloe Lacasse because with the World Cup coming up, I know you're excited to see what she can do. This could be a huge opportunity for her, but she already got her move. She's going to Arsenal. So I want to know, because there's been a lot of good stories about Canadians going over to that league and finding success, but there's also been some stories around Canadians not really able to find their groove in England. So what does Lacasse have to do for you to be able to go into that Arsenal side and hit the ground running?
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully she uses a good World Cup as a springboard. But I think the main thing is just going to be ready for opportunity, because they're very deep. Recently, they signed Alessia Russo from over from Manchester United, another top attacking talent. Obviously, Vivian Miedema, Beth Mead are both injured, but they'll be back. It's going to be a very loaded front line. So for Lacasse, take your chance early before everyone's back and healthy, and then from there, just at clubs like that, you got to score your goals, got to have some good performances, because you'll easily be rotated out of the squad. So just take that opportunity early and often.
Now moving on to the men's side, Ika Ubo has a new club. We know he had a very tough season with Troyes. They got relegated, but he has now joined Cardiff City on a season-long loan. Cardiff were not able to purchase players due to a transfer ban, but Ugbo is on a contract with Troyes until 2026. He's here on a one-year deal. Do you like the move, and do you think that he can maybe use it as a way to earn himself a transfer maybe back to England permanently in the championship? Or do you think there's any chance that if Troyes bounce back up to Liga, he may go over there with a new manager and try to rediscover that form that made him so good when he first joined Troyes?
It's a very prove it kind of deal. And I think especially the transfer ban feels like a kind of intriguing wrinkle to this. The fact that Cardiff, per EFL rules, they can't pay a transfer, so that's why they're only getting loans and free transfers. So this is a team that obviously wants to beef up. They finished 21st out of 24 last year. They narrowly avoided the drop by 5 points. So Ugbo goes to a team that's going to need goals. It's going to need players just to step up and fill some gaps, fill some holes, and it's really prove it in the sense that there's no purchase option. At least it doesn't appear. And even if they wanted to, they can't because of the ban. So it's just go out, prove it, and hey, maybe if that ban gets lifted, they'll want to keep him around. Or like you say, you open up the door for another championship club or the Premier League. They're always looking at players who play in the league. Plus, Ika Ubo is English, so it'll facilitate any sort of move paperwork-wise to any league. If not, Troyes, well, I'm sure we'll look at him. Any French club that will have seen his past performances could be intriguing. Basically, this is a window shopping move for Ika Ubo. Have a good year and see where the cookie crumbles, and I'm excited to see how he does with that.
I don't want to say this is a make or break season for Ika Ubo, but Us Canadians know what he can do. He is a great goal scorer when he's, has the confidence from his manager, when he's starting playing. We desperately missed him in the Gold Cup that is currently going on. A lot of us were hoping that he'd be there and this would be the opportunity to get a lot of minutes with the Canadian national team. He didn't, which meant that, we all thought he was going to get this transfer. He got it done. I'm hoping he gets a ton of reps, can score some goals and really find his feet, because when you start looking a little past Laren and David, it has to be Ugbo. And you have to imagine right now at his age, this is the opportunity to show like, hey, I'm here, I can play. And if he can do it in the championship, which is one of the most grueling leagues in the world, I think that will better him as a player and maybe give him a chance to get back in the Canadian national team and not only push to be on the squad, but maybe try to push someone like Kyle Laren, Jonathan David, and try to get in that starting 11.
Yeah, and he absolutely has that potential. He's still super young, like 24 is by far, it's not the finished product by any means. You've seen, a guy like Kyle Laren, 27, 28, still able to produce as he has. And for Ugbo too, the biggest thing that it strikes out is the 2 years before this really showed the potential he has. He scored 17 or 18 league goals the year before in the Belgian league, made that move to Genk. He was a bit inconsistent, still had 11 goals. So basically, 11 goals across his time with Genk and Troyes, I should correct. But basically, he scored 38 goals across the last 28 goals across the last 2 seasons. Before this one, where he went dry, had 2 goals, struggled for minutes. So it shows that when you give him the minutes, when you give him the opportunity, he can get goals. So if he can return that form where he was averaging around 14 goals a season over those 2 years prior, I think that would be huge for him and could show the potential he has playing a top 5 league to be Canada's one of Canada's striker options, to potentially be the guy who could start beside a Jonathan David and complement him in a 3-5-2 for Canada.
Ugbo definitely has got something to prove because he has been left out of the national team in recent windows as well. But another player that's been left out from the national team for a while is Theo Correa. He's had a couple really, really hard seasons, multiple loan deals. He's going out on loan once again from Wolverhampton, and he's heading to Switzerland with Grasshopper. This is a bit of an intriguing move. I think he really needs to find a club where he can start consistently and get those reps and get that confidence back, because this was a player at one point that Canadians thought was going to be a starter, was going to be a lock. When we were able to get him to commit to Canada, not Romania, it was a huge day, but he's kind of regressed since then. He's still very young, but do you like the move? And do you think that there's a chance, maybe how Liam Miller went over to Switzerland and had that really positive first season? Do you think Corbeano can replicate that?
Yeah, I think the Swiss League will be a good landing spot. Just find some confidence, find some form. Hopefully, should get minutes. What's fascinating about this Grasshopper move is that Wolves has actually had a partnership with them for a while due to their ownership structure. So they've sent a lot of players there in the past to kind of on loans to young players find that confidence. It's a chance to play in a top flight league after mucking it out in England for a couple of loan stints, and then obviously going to the second division of Germany. So it'll be intriguing to see how he takes to that level. And really, I just want to see consistency because, again, I don't think the talent is a doubt. This is a talent that, again, when on his day in the championship, he did not look out of place. That's a tough league. He showed his quality, but also he's been very inconsistent. Off the ball, defensively, etc. That stuff has taken time. So look, the Swiss league is a quality league. So go out, show your quality, show what you can do on the ball, but then just show the consistent things you need to do off it, defensively, commitment to all that. And then I think Liam Miller is a great example of what you can do when all of that clicks. Liam Miller went after a lot of stints up and down in England, playing in the Liverpool system. He went to Basel, was consistent, did his job, and look where it led to him now. And I think Corbeano can absolutely learn from that.
Moving on now to the Canadian quick hit section of the episode. It's being reported by Nicola Belice that Juventus are interested in Jonathan David and that they're going on the classical request for information. The biggest obstacle right now for the Canadian is his asking price of 40 million euros, although it's been reported multiple times that that number could be about 50 or 60, and it could increase if there's a bidding war. The relationship is good between Lille and Juventus, and proof of that is the fact that they just got a very timely deal done with method payment for Timothy Weah.
Having been forced to withdraw from Canada's Gold Cup squad with an injury. Milan Borjan wasted no time in finalizing his rumor to move to Slovakia as he officially joined Slovan Bratislava on his loan. Should be an interesting move for him, of course, after spending so many seasons at Red Star, where he was the number one. He won a lot of trophies. He heads to a Bratislava team that is fresh off winning the title. They want to win more. They're going to be pushing in Europe, and hopefully this can be what Borjan needs to rebuild his confidence after a bit of a weird ending to such a strong stint at Red Star.
There's already been so many Canadian transfers, and there will definitely be more to come. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this transfers edition of Canadians Abroad. And if you did, be sure to tune in for next week's update.